So for this warm-up, you're going to want a mini band and also a yoga block. And I think we're also going to grab a weight just to start. I like some loaded work so we can feel gravity, just what's engaging in our bodies. So if you want to maybe get like a 10 or a 13-pound weight from your tower, that should be totally sufficient. We're just going to start with some roll downs and roll ups and positioning our pelvis. So let's have our yoga block and our mini band just a little in front of us for the moment. And go ahead and hold the heavy weight that you grabbed from your tower or any weight that you have around the house, really. And just give yourself a little bit of a shifting back and forth so you can roll your body weight backwards over the heels and feel what muscle chains are engaging when you lean your weight back. And then imprint that weight rolling through the foot until it goes onto the ball of the foot. And hang out on the ball of the foot for a second and roll the weight to the outside edge of your foot and the inside edge of the foot. I'd like you to do that to see if you can feel the activity that's happening up in the top of your thighs, or the activity that's happening around the musculature of your legs. And then shift your weight a little further forward onto the toes, press them in. Feel the activity around your quads and the back of your knees. And then see how far that activity draws up through the inner thighs, underneath the pubic bone, and through the front of your body. Let's just swallow for a second. And then one more time, rock the weight back and forth, just observing all the information that flows in through your foot proprioceptors. And then we'll take that weight up just to the center of the body. You can bend your arms, you don't have to keep them straight, but feel the activity that goes on in your arms as you lift them up. And then push your arms all the way up to the ceiling. Take a big, long breath in and out, bringing your tongue to the roof of your mouth. And as you exhale, push your tongue to the roof of your mouth. Inhale again, pulling your ears back a little bit. Well, exhale, we're going to roll down. So you can take the weight, you can bend your elbows. Feel the muscles in the back of your body like a cape that's moving over your skeleton. Notice the work that happens in your legs. Try to keep your tailbone reaching down to the floor as long as possible. And then as you let the back drop, notice the moment where you unhinge the back of the hamstrings, you lift the sit bones up, you forward bend. We'll take a little arch curl at the bottom, just hang the weight off your arms so your spine moves through. Round down. Send your heels down to the floor. Move your kneecaps forward and reach your tailbone down to slowly lift back up through the center. Coming all the way up. And as you bring the weight up through the front of your torso, feel your abdominals engage like they too are lifting it back up. All the way back up. Nod your head. Turn it right and left. And then rotate right and left a little bit with the ribs. Take the weight down for a moment. And take your block. You're going to take your block and you're going to put it right up at the base of your crotch. So like you're sitting on it, like you could be sitting on a bench. So I can feel my sit bones descending onto this yoga block right now. And I want to press them down. And let's see if we can take our pubic bone forward, like you could stamp the yoga block forward. And then move it back. Just do that a couple of times. And now can you engage your thighs in such a way that you would try to slide the block down your legs, but take your sit bones with you? And notice how that creates a bit of spaciousness in the top part of the pelvis. And then see about moving the block forward and back again. Maybe you can feel how you're creating a little more space around the SI joint area now. Right, so it's a different thing than engaging the whole pelvis, just engaging from the bottom. Let's go ahead and let's grab our weight and reaching our pelvis down to the block. Let's take the weight back up. So you're trying to squeeze the block with your thighs and descend your sit bones. Push the weight up. And then let's just have 4 arch curls, moving the tailbone back, let the weight balance over you. And then forward, stab the pubic bone forward. And maybe you start to feel those muscles activating that go all the way from the ribs down to the thighs. So it's not just the psoas, we're feeling more than that, but it is all integrated around achieving length in the psoas. Let's rotate, but keep the block reaching center. And then push up, round over, squeeze the block and reach your tailbone down as you take the flexion down through the abdominals. Enjoy the lower back stretch for a second before you release the tail. And bring the weight down to the ground. Remove the block, shake it out a second. And let's just stand actually and notice inside of our body what feels stretched out, what feels worked. If you had a new topographical map of tension in your body, would it look different? And I'm sorry, in my mind, I have to share this with you. I don't know if you know the Matchmaker song from Fiddler on the Roof. Matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match. Well, in my head, all of a sudden, it was going mapmaker, mapmaker, make me a map. So now you have that earworm too. We will move on through class. We're going to take the block and we're going to put it on the medium setting in between our feet. Another piece of suppling that I think why we circle around it so much in the gyrotonic system is because it's a system developed by ballet dancers, originally adopted primarily by ballet dancers. And in ballet, you're externally rotating, which is engaging your glutes in such a way that they're absolutely engaged, right? And so we move the leg behind the body, your butt's already there. So the butt taking over to lift the leg is even more likely, which can cause all kinds of pinching in the back. One of my good friends who has a yoga background says that in yoga, this is very different. Like in Ashtanga, her practice, it was so parallel that she has to teach rotation to her students. But for those of us who've been using turnout for years to find our mobility, stability, and aesthetic expression, having a hyperactive butt is a big piece of not being able to access your psoas. So internal rotation and parallel are the psoas's friend. We get more length that way. So this is one of the reasons why I think the yoga block cue works so well, is that when we bring it in between our feet, and we're going to take it in between the bunion pieces of our toes. If you don't have bunions, yay, it's just the big toe knuckle. But if you have bunions, also try to bring your big toe sides towards the block. And then roll the insides of your ankles to the block. And then see if you can squeeze it and and reaffirm the sense of engaging your inner thighs together and trying to move your imaginary yoga block forward. And hopefully you start feeling how that engagement through the feet begins to pull that same action out through the pelvis. So now we are elongating the base of the pelvis and we're able to engage and lift up throughout. Let's take the mini band. We're going to put it around our hands. So just like handcuffs. Squeeze the block, reach your tailbone down, bring your arms up. And notice that feeling of hovering and lifting that happens as the arms go up and over, the yawning sensation, the upper piece of the ribs, and just take a moment to float and enjoy that. And notice you could press into the band to get stretches that go all the way through your body, especially if you're rolling the inside of your ankles down to that block. And now we're just going to roll down, do an arch curl at the bottom and roll up. We'll do that center side, kind of like a gyrokinesis class on your own time, enjoying all of those internal stretches. And you can start to notice too how your arms will naturally roll out and in, depending on what shape they're making with your chest. depending on their relationship with your shoulders. Just notice. It's all right in its own way. Rotate over the right side, slide your vision down the outside of your quad. Enjoy the stretch in the back of the ribs, and anywhere it feels really good, pause there and breathe into what feels great. And you're probably also noticing how with this muscle chain engagement, the place that had the good stretch is growing, right? Because we're not just going slack because it's connected. The joy bleeds through all of our tissues. Over the left side. And then let's just all give our arms a rest for a second. So I just took the mini band behind my neck, and I can do some little neck movements here. You can drop your arms. Every so often, they insist to you they're going to fall off if you don't give them a break. I have yet to lose a limb, but there's no problem giving your body a break here and there. And then let's push the arms back up, and let's just enjoy 4 semicircles because they are so good. Let your breath lead your expansion to the side. Have it be a bit of a snoring breath. And push your tailbone down at the end range. Come back around. Now release your hands from the band, and I just want you to hold it behind yourselves for a second. Slide it under your wrists. Your arms are down. Press your arms wide, and then use that action to help to lift your chest up. So see if you can find that sense of expansion by reaching your arms down. So the arms can either pull or push for this to work. And what they're doing depends on where you're putting them in space and what you want to do with your body. That's all. We are going to take it to the floor from here for a little more prep work. So just lying down where you are. You'll want to keep your stuff. We'll just keep all the stuff. Yeah. And let's start with having the block in between our ankles. You're going to squeeze it just like you did. Bring your hands behind yourselves. And a few times, push the hamstrings down and squeeze the block until you find those hamstrings finding the ground. And then bend. Like you could prepare for shivering, that same type of intensity. But the hamstrings are trying to embrace the floor. And you'll notice that every time you do this, it becomes easier and easier to lengthen your abdominals up and behind you. So you're really working it into your glutes and your back body here, and you're spinning your inner thighs down to the floor. Now, take the band in between your hands again. Pull them up behind you and see if you can get to the floor. Your elbows can bend. And stretch and bend and straighten the legs a couple more times. And see if you can find that sense of almost like a vacuum feeling where your legs are pulling out and it gets really hollow in your abdomen. You don't need to glue the back of your navel to the floor, but you do want the directionality to be back there. The actual whole imprinting the back of your navel to the floor has so much to do with how much butt muscle you have. It's really individual. but the internal engagement is unmistakable. So feel how the lower ribs are still pulled down, even though the upper ribs are flaring up like wings. And then lose the block and just enjoy some kneading of the legs. As you knead the legs, you're going to side arch. So the leg that extends is the same as the arm that reaches. And take 8 of these. Enjoying both the inhalation and the exhalation. Slow it all down. And then just rest. Notice what rolls off of you like pieces of dough that you've cut off of a pie crust. Where there's more space, where you feel your heart beating differently. And where breath goes in your body.